so on. And I can't wait because I think those guys bring a great influx of energy and excitement. I think the new coaches and the coaches that are still young in the league bring a lot of excitement because if you look around here, I know that media days is for everybody to hype up their team and, not give too much away, but to really talk about the positives a lot. But I think all these teams that are here, when they're talking about positives, every single one of them has a legitimate reason to feel like they can be just as good, if not better, this year. I mean, every single one of them. Texas Tech has multiple reasons to believe they'll be better. West Virginia has multiple reasons to believe they'll be better. K-State, same thing. Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley quit on them last year. But they feel like they're going to be better now that he's been taken out. Baylor, there's plenty of people that, as good of a year as they had, feel like they can be better with Blake Shapen at quarterback. Now, I'm a little bit more hesitant. I think they can be as good, maybe not marks-wise, but like as a team. But I don't know how much better they can get. So remains to be seen there. And I'm also a little bit more of a pessimist because I see them on a daily basis. So I dissect them a little bit differently. But Kansas, they got to feel like they're going to be better this year with more time under Lance Leopold. But Iowa State, a little bit of a disappointment last year. Plenty of reasons to feel like they're flying under the radar and could jump up and surprise some people. I mean, just go on down the line. Oklahoma State, it's going to be hard to kind of get back to where they were.
Now, how come we don't hear much
nobody's talking about
people?
Spencer Sanders in Oklahoma State.
Well, and he, of course, has to improve, but that's a school that last year was an inch away from winning the Big 12 title, playing in the college football playoff, and yet they're ranked third in the preseason poll. How come no one's talking about them being overlooked? Because in a way they are. Yes, they lost people. Everybody did.
I think that's
everybody did.
I think that's who they lost. I think it's losing Knowles as your defensive coordinator is obviously huge no matter who you replace him with. I mean, he was before Jerry McVay makes that play. But throughout, even after that, I mean, the story of that team was not Spencer Sanders. The story of that team was Jim Knowles and his defense.
Yeah.
And you lost a lot of pieces off of that defense, and you lost him. So no matter how you replace him and go about that, that's going to automatically make people question it a little bit. But, I don't know how much better they can be, but they should be plenty good. TCU, we know the distractions last year. They were not very good. If the Baylor win, if not for that, that would have been one of the most miserable years in Frogs' recent history by a mile because they had nothing to hang their hats on last year other than beating Baylor. So you see what they've got going on and kind of the confidence that Tre'Vius Tomlinson was talking about. You could tell the culture was not good there with Gary Patterson towards the end. That much was made clear, and it seems like that's starting to turn around. So they should be better as a result. And, I mean, like I said, on and on and on. Every single team in this league, unless I'm just blanking on somebody, feels like they can be just as good, like the top teams like Baylor and Oklahoma State, or everybody else feels like they can be better and maybe be in that position. And I think that makes, with that, plus the coaches in this league, plus the new influx of quarterbacks, I think that makes for a really fun.
Anyone going to run the table?
Unpredictable year? No, I don't think so. No.
We've seen the hellacious teams not be able to do that and then Matt Campbell brought that up when I asked him about it. It's Kansas. Yes, we know what they've done, but then again, we know on occasion they've given somebody a hickey, and I'm not just referring to UT. I know that what a lot of people will bring up, and there are a couple of those that are like mind-boggling in a way. So appreciate all the feedback on the transfer quarterbacks. It's to me, that's a storyline. The new coaches is the conference overall, the way they play the game, which had kind of turned back more towards what Matt Campbell at Iowa State, what Oklahoma State with Knowles, what Aranda at Baylor has been doing with their defense. Can anyone else do that as well? Or is it going to go back more to the up-tempo with the additions of Levy and Dykes and Kitley, and then, of course, as we've talked about with UT, and quite a bit of their weapons they have accomplished or accumulated over the last few months. We're not done. Tre'Vius Hodges-Tomlinson, his uncle was LaDainian Tomlinson. What an interview with him. A young man that was a spectacular high school football player who really was almost locked into Baylor and Matt Rule. But there's a wild card. His wild card is his uncle. LaDainian Tomlinson, an All-American legend, Hall of Fame college football player out of TCU, and eventually that was the difference. And then we've heard Bijan Robinson talk about how the team was not tight last year. Now, in a minute, we'll hear from Tre'Vius Hodges-Tomlinson about he didn't feel like the team was together and they were somewhat splintered. I don't know if he used that word, but splintered last year. He could make a difference.
It sounded worse than I even would have thought to describe, honestly. Like, I figured if you would have asked me last year, like, yeah, it's probably not a great locker room right now just because they're losing and Patterson's kind of iffy on where he's going, right, Garrett? And it felt like he was, out of flux a little bit. But then you hear him say it, and not that he, like, dove deep, but just a couple comments he made. It's like, wow, it sounded like it was probably a lot worse than we even realized.
No, it was, and I think that's something that you've got to get over, right? And you don't want anything like that being a distraction and killing your locker room. I think that bringing in some fresh blood and rejuvenating everything is going to be really a world of difference this year for the Frogs. Obviously, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I think that's going to be an interesting piece to look at.
Yeah.
Chandler Morris, to me, is – I would start Chandler Morris, but I don't know what they're going to ultimately end up doing. But, yeah, I don't think anybody from the outside could have really predicted how bad things appeared to be listening to Tre'Vius.
Yeah.
We'll have that.
They're automatically going to be a little better just because the locker room's going to
Yeah.
be healthier. That's ultimately what I'm getting at is they're on a better page as a team. And I think it sounds like a few of them are. And I don't think it's all just, hey, media day, everybody's saying the right things, because – there's no real need to do that. I mean, we're going to hear it ourselves anyways or whatever. Just be honest. And I think everybody's been pretty honest about where they are. And that's what I'm saying. I think everybody feels like they truly – and it's not like delusional, like, well, we're just going to be better through sheer willpower. Like, no, everybody improved or on paper improved somehow or another. And that's going to make it very interesting.
If they haven't, they're going to be left behind, because you can go from 8-1 or 2-8 and everything in between because of the way the schedule sets up. One note we did have a couple of days ago that